Summer is finally here and there is no other place to be than by the sea. And this time we are heading to Great Yarmouth, one of the seaside resorts here in the UK and home to some of the most weird and wonderful places you can game hunt anywhere. You need to see this video.
Game Pickups! Building the Games Room! Bush Trips! Live Game Hunting!
Hello again folks and welcome back to another live game hunting episode. And I don't know what it is about British summertime, but it's just a great time for game hunting. And there is no better place to hunt for games than the seaside. And more often than not, this is where you find some of the weirdest and wonderfulest places to hunt. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I don't want you to miss any of my weird and wonderful adventures. Now, let's head to the seaside. Here we are then in Great Yarmouth, in the marketplace, and it is an absolutely beautiful summer's day, and what better place to start a hunt than at the market. Now I think a lot of people may think market stalls are a little bit old-fashioned, but trust me, you can still get some absolutely unbelievable deals here. So there's some really good modern and retro toys here, both boxed and loose, and there were some really good prices, some really nice bits here. I want to have a really good look around and make sure I didn't miss anything. Now I didn't actually know it was going to be market day this day, so if you are going to Great Yarmouth for the market, please check the market is on. Here we have some really cheap games, and Wolfenstein the New Order for £3. Yes, I'm going to pick that one up. I've been looking for that Occupied Edition for quite a while, and I just really love the Wolfenstein franchise, even though the newest game in the franchise may well have killed the franchise dead, but I digress. As you can see here, loads of really cheap games, and this is a great way to build a game collection. Picking games up like the lower end titles for £1 to £2 is a great way to build your collection, and there's still some really good titles here, and it just goes to show it's another place to look for games. You know, you've got your CX, your charity shop, your Facebook marketplace. Why not check out the actual OG marketplace? You may find a bargain. On to more familiar hunting grounds, we're heading into the charity shops and hiding amongst the books and DVDs. There was a couple of games, but unfortunately nothing really to write home about here. We have some of the old Tiger Woods games, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of these Tiger Woods games trade in very well at CX, but please do comment below if I'm wrong. There might be one random year, like some of the FIFA games, which is actually worth picking up to trade in, much like, unfortunately, a lot of these old PC games. One thing I do always keep an eye out for when I'm in the charity shops is DVD box sets, as a very small amount of these do trade in for good money, and I would have thought this one right here, Box of the Band, would have traded in for a little bit more than it does. Unfortunately, this was the asking price in the charity shop, so I didn't pick this up, but some DVD box sets, if you kind of get the knowledge of which ones they are worth picking up to flip into CX, so keep an eye on the channel. Unfortunately, when you are hunting in a charity shop, more often than not, this is what you're going to see. A lot of worthless DVDs and even Blu-rays now. Just none of these are really worth picking up, unless they're for your personal collection, of course. And a lot of kind of shovelware games, your kind of cheap tie-ins, your kind of memory and quiz games, and even some of these more common Xbox 360 games. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these games are going to sit on a shelf and rot. Another option, if you are looking for more modern video games on the high street, is to try and find your local game store. Now, unfortunately, most of these now are inside other stores, mainly Sports Direct store, and half of the challenge of actually shopping in-game is finding a store. But it looks like we found it. I'm sure a lot of people kind of hate how Game doesn't sell mainly games anymore, but I like a lot of the collectibles they sell here. But I do think a lot of this is overpriced, like this Doom floppy disk, 20 quid. If that was like £5 or £10, yes, I'd probably pick it up. I do enjoy these kind of retro Marvel figures, but I have got so many different ranges of action figures I'm already collecting. I just don't think I can add another one, and especially something like Marvel would have about 1 million figures for the set. There was some pretty cool stuff in here, definitely some bargains to be picked up. There was some stuff I didn't really like I do not like the look of these He-Man figures. I much prefer the Master of the Universe Revelation figures, which if you have not seen the Netflix series, do it. It's absolutely fantastic. I think it's come back for a 3rd season soon. And love them or hate them, I do enjoy these Paladone lights for the games room. Again, say what you will about game, but it does seem at the moment, if you collect Star Wars figures, you can get some absolute bargains in here, especially if you go right to the back and pull out some of these Black Series figures. And $5.98 for these figures is really, really tempting. I do already collect a couple of different figure lines from the Star Wars universe, and I am tempted to start collecting these Black Series ones just because they are so cheap, even though some of the prices in the store are actually different than the actual prices in the store. Some figures are marked different prices depending where you look in the shop, which is a little bit weird. I do really enjoy these Star Wars Mandalorian credit collection figures, $7.98. The only problem is these are not really in scale of any other figures, so I did leave them on the shelf. Now, a lot of people may argue that it is expensive to buy games in-game, and to some extent I do agree. Here we have Spider-Man Miles Morales for $51.99 when you can get it significantly cheaper in CX. Obviously, that will be a used copy, but it's a lot cheaper. One way to get cheap games in-game is their 2 for $20 or 3 for $2 deals. The only problem being all of the Switch games here that were 2 for $20 were download codes, and, you know, we collect physical around here. So sadly, the Switch 2 for $20 was a bit of a bust, but let's check out the chart games for the Xbox One. Yes, Game still has a chart of the best-selling games, and yes, unfortunately, they are a little bit overpriced. Let's have a look in the 3 for $2 section. Now, the thing is with a 3 for $2 section, in-game it is all about the luck of the draw and finding something you actually want to pick up. Like Ezio Collection $17.99, I think is very, very overpriced. Let's try again. Let's pull another game out here. Back for Blood. At $9.99, I still think that's an expensive game. Like, I think that game is going to be under a $5, if not free to play very soon. This is a very cool version of Control I've never seen before. I was quite tempted to pick this up for $10.99 because if you have not played Control, it is absolutely amazing. It is one of my favourite games of the past few years, and I definitely recommend it, especially with Alan Wake 2 coming out soon. But keeping searching through these 3 for $2 and looking for anything we can kind of build a bundle with. I always have a look at the Lego games because if you can pick them up very cheap, they sell fairly well on eBay or trading into CX, but unfortunately nothing here. So let's move on to the PlayStation 5 section. Yes, they have some games for the PlayStation 5 as well as PlayStation 4 in the 3 for $2 section. Now, of course, you're probably not going to find much on the PlayStation 5 as of yet, but you know, as the console gets out a little bit longer, there may be some more bargains to be found. It just seemed like a lot of the 3 for $2 games are around the £15 to £20 games, the games that kind of sit on the shelf a little bit longer. And at the end of the day, if there's 3 of these games you need, it is a very good deal. Moving on from game, we are heading into the pawn shops, and sometimes you can get a good deal in these if you catch them slipping on pricing, especially on some of these retro bits if they kind of don't know what they have. But $69.99 for a Mega Drive, I think will pass. I was actually blown away by how expensive some of these Fallout pops were. Like, I'm a massive fan of Fallout. I do have a few pops, but I never knew they were this expensive. Checking out the video game section of this pawn shop, and sometimes you can get a bargain, but it doesn't look like we're going to find one on the PlayStation 5. Not terrible prices, but just not super cheap. The Amazing Spider-Man games are always good if you can pick them up cheap. They do trade in very well, and to be honest, they're really good games. If you haven't got a PlayStation, they're the best Spider-Man games you're going to get if you're playing on Xbox, I'm afraid. It's always worth checking out some of the Xbox 360 games in case you catch the pawn shop slipping on the pricing, especially if you can take a game like Call of Duty Black Ops to trade into CX, but unfortunately, no luck this time. That's because I'm sure these days a lot of these pawn shops basically probably just base their prices off CX prices, which is a shame. But you never know, it's always worth a check as you never know you're going to find a bargain. Nothing today, but coming up next, we are going to one of the craziest independent game stores I've ever been to. This independent game store here is called Play, in the heart of Great Yarmouth. It is still to this day one of the craziest game stores I've ever been to. I came here in a previous video and that was over a year ago and I've still not gotten over how incredibly crazy, weird and wonderful this store is. You have to see it. It has very reduced hours, so make sure it's open before you come and visit, but you need to check this store out. It is one of the craziest video game stores you will ever ever see. You may recognise this store from a recent episode of the PlayStation Platinum project that I put out. My continuing mission for 2023 to add every single PlayStation 1 Platinum game to my collection over the course of 2023. If you missed that episode, go back and check it out as I added some amazing titles that time. But of course, this store does not just sell PlayStation 1 games, it sells a little bit of everything, and I do mean everything. So here we have some Mega Drive games. Scrolling across, we have obviously loads of PlayStation 1 games. A little further down, we have GameCube games. You can see at the side there, we have Saturn games. Up here, we have some VHS tapes, some board games. This store literally has everything, and it's full of grail items. Like, look up there, copy of Silent Hill marked at £25. Now, here is the thing to consider. The prices on these games are not the prices you pay. There is signs to that effect all around the store. That is because, say what you will about this, the owner of the store goes online and checks his prices, but he does say that is the price he is looking for. He is always looking to haggle. And when I went in and filmed my episode of the PlayStation Platinum project, we did do some haggling and I did get some really good offers. But the thing is about this store, you just have to dig. As well as video games, it is absolutely stacked with both retro and modern toys, including one of the biggest selections of Star Wars toys I've ever seen. Like, there's so much cool stuff here. There's like pops, action figures, toys, everything. This place is absolutely stacked. And if you think my games room is stacked, this place is stacked from the floor to the ceiling. There is just, and I mean just, enough room to walk around this store. But everywhere you look, it is just a sensory overload. There is so much cool stuff. It's so hard to do justice in video. I've said it once, I'll say it again in this video. I cannot do justice to how crazy, weird and wonderful this shop is. I absolutely love it. It is just a paradise to hunt in. It's like a mix of American Pickers meets CX. Look at the back wall here. That's where some of the really high level stuff is. And in front of that is toys, games, accessories, it's just everything. This store has literally everything, and it just has stacks of games. Like, look at this absolute wall of Xbox 360 games. Like, if you are looking for a game, chances are it's going to be here. It just has games for every single console, and it just has stacks, just absolutely tons of games. Like, look at this wall. This is how my games room will probably look in the next few years. But remember, this is a store and everything is for sale, even though the prices that appear on the games may not be the prices. Moving from the Xbox to the PlayStation 2, and I think you would be hard-pressed to find a bigger selection of PlayStation 2 games. I said it earlier in the video, the PlayStation 1 selection was incredible in this store, but this is one of the biggest PS2 selections I have ever seen. There was a smaller amount of retro, but some really nice NES games here. Moving on again, just the size of the PlayStation 2 shelf just blows me away. And some of the weird bits, like I've never seen this fishing rod for the PS2 made by Game. It's just items like that you could only find in a place like this. It truly is one of a kind. It is one of the many, many reasons that I just love game hunting, is you never know what you're going to find. And if you thought that wasn't crazy enough, welcome to King Street Traders. Just across the road from Play. This is, I'm just going to say, a general store. It's like a pawn shop. It has video games, clothes, electronics, bongs, guns, basically just about anything you can imagine. It is like a maze inside. And again, it's just weird and wonderful places like this I just absolutely love. Like, I've suddenly just come to a dead end here. I have no idea where I'm going. It's so easy to get lost in here, but this is what I love, finding these weird and wonderful stores around the UK and just the strange items that are inside. It's like, in what store around the UK would you have all of these items? And in what store could you get lost? There are not many stores on a high street these days where you can get lost. This is like something out of that episode of Father Ted at Christmas when they got lost in the underwear section. And one of the things I love most about this shop is the LED lighting everywhere. Here, I'm still looking for the games. I'm about a minute or two in now and still haven't found the games. But here they are, because of course The video games are lit up with LED strips, which, if you ask any gamer, is the best way to make anything look cool. So let's jump straight in here. You can see we have an absolutely massive section of Xbox One games and some pretty good pricing here, but display-wise, LED lighting, folks, is the way to make anything look cool. Like, it may not be the most comfortable way to browse these games, but it makes them look cool. At the end of the day, that is the main thing. There is a pretty solid selection here. We have Xbox 360, OG Xbox, PlayStation 4. We have headsets. We have consoles. Literally, I think if you went up to the counter in this store and asked, do you have, they would just say yes. They even have platinum games. Sadly, none I'd need for the collection, but they have platinum games. And as you've seen in the PlayStation Platinum project, it's sometimes hard to find those games. Hidden among the more common games are also some slightly rarer games, such as Pokemon Platinum version here. Sadly, it was the NTSC version, but it's very cool to see, especially in a shop like this. But then again, I shouldn't be surprised by anything I really see in this shop. Still going for the Xbox 360 games, still being blinded by those LED lights, just looking for anything that kind of sticks out. Games like this I've never seen before. I have no idea if it's any good. They even have a glass cabinet in here with some of the even rarer items. We've got some OG Xbox, some SNES, some Game Boy boxed games, some more Pokemon games. This, I don't know. I don't know if this store or play is more overwhelming, but it's just places like this that I love game hunting. This is why I love game hunting. We're coming to the end of our day of live game hunting, and if these guns on the wall are anything to go by, let's get out of here. Here we are then, back in the games room, and I don't know what it is about seaside towns here in the UK, but they just always seem to hide the most weird and wonderful places, and Great Yarmouth is just a place like no other. It was an absolutely amazing hunt today, but sadly we only have one pickup for the collection. Our one pickup is the game we saw right at the start of the video, Wolfenstein: The New Order. This is the Occupied edition. It has a couple of extra bits. It has a guide to occupied Britain, a travel card holder, and a set of free postcards. As you can see, I paid just £3 for this game, and that's about what it sells for in CX, but I've been wanting to pick this one up for quite a long while, so when I saw it on the market, I was happy to add it to the collection. Here is the problem though. On the CEX website, they simply list this as Wolfenstein: The New Order. If you are looking for this Occupied edition, you'll have to go in store to see if it's this edition. And here's the thing, because this is a cardboard case, this might be harder to find soon, and of course it needs all the contents intact. But let me know if you have any luck finding this specific edition in your local CX. Like I said then, just the one pickup for the collection this time. But that really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, yes, game hunting is about adding things to our collections, but it's the experience. And today, like no other day, has been such an experience. I always see some crazy, weird and wonderful things when I'm out game hunting, but Great Yarmouth normally just blows them all away. But if you know anywhere crazier, more weird, more wonderful in the UK that I need to visit, please let me know in the comments down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See you all soon.